So the eels caught in Estonian waters mainly come from inland waters, where they are relocated as glass eels. So about 10 years ago, the practice of releasing eels into the waters after they had been farmed for a few years was discontinued. And this was, as I mentioned before, due to extremely low survival rate.
Hello. So I'm Farištamo and...
Yeah, I'm Martin.
First of all, I want to thank my colleague Martin, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here, because he signed us and our theme up. And so we can discuss or talk about this species, this really endangered species here. This short video we will watch in the end if everything goes very well. But this one, I'm just recommending to watch it later. This is very well made, a very short video, what explain how many people through the history have had this urge to find out about eels, and Aristotle and Sigmund Freud amongst them, and they tried to solve the mystery of the eel. We will talk about it later, what the mystery is about, but they kind of failed. You will, if you watch it, you will see what it is about. And now, Martin.
Yes, so as briefly not described in the video at the moment, hopefully we will see it later on. The European eel has a fascinating and complex life cycle that involves multiple stages and long migrations between freshwater and oceans. So their life begins in the Sargasso Sea, which is part of the Atlantic Ocean, east from the Bahamas. When they are born, the larvae, also called leptocephali, are transparent. They are shaped like a leaf, and they are really small. They are about 5 to 10 millimeters in size. They are carried by ocean currents towards the coast of Europe and northern Africa. This journey takes about 7 to 12 months. As they approach the continental shelf, closer? Okay, sorry. As they approach the continental shelf, leptocephali metamorphose into glass eels. They are transparent and resemble adult eels, but are only 6 to 8 centimeters long. The glass eels then migrate into coastal bodies and rivers, often traveling in large groups. Now, this is the stage where many are caught for consumption or aquaculture, because especially in Asia, glass eels are considered as a delicacy. The largest contributor to glass eel fishing is France, with more than 50%. But Spain, Portugal, and UK are also huge contributors. So once in fresh water, glass eels begin to develop pigmentation and become known as elvers. They are still small, but now have the characteristic dark coloration of the eel. Elvers migrate further upstream into rivers, lakes, and other freshwater bodies. They can travel considerable distances. And what is remarkable about them is they can leave water and they can cross wet grass and mud fields. As they grow, elvers develop into yellow eels. The name comes from their yellow-brown coloration. This stage can last anywhere from 6 to 20 years, but depending on environmental conditions, it can last even longer. There have been recorded up to 8 years of lifespan of eels. In this stage, the eel is feeding and growing in freshwater and coastal habitats. They are nocturnal. They feed on a wide variety of prey, which includes insects, crustaceans, and small fish. In this stage, they would historically spend the longest period in Baltic Sea and Estonian rivers or lakes. As eels reach maturity, they undergo another transformation into silver eels. They develop a silvery color or sheen, and their eyes enlarge to adapt to the deep sea environment. Silver eels migrate back to the Sargasso Sea to spawn. This journey can be thousands of kilometers long and take up to 12 months. And this is a one-way trip because they die after spawning. And while there have been lots of efforts to reproduce both American and European eel in captivity, the completion of their life cycle remains unsuccessful. And I think it's also worth mentioning that these efforts, these attempts, have a capitalist drive, not like conservation of the species.
So, why are we here? The reason is that the European eel is critically endangered and needs a lot more action to make politicians do important and very necessary decisions. And yes, even the giant panda is doing better, although it is not correct to compare animals and species, of course. But in my opinion, this comparison is necessary here to make people realize how speciesistic can animal protection sometimes be. Panda bear is cute. It is probably impossible to deny that. But people, for example, in Estonia, they consider the eel as a delicacy, not as an animal or not as an individual for sure, or an extraordinary and magical species. So it might be difficult to understand that if the message, for example, from International Council for the Exploration of the Sea is so clear, then why politicians ignore it? When we started in Loomus to work with that topic, then it seemed to us that it is quite straightforward. This species is really endangered, so probably it's not difficult to explain to politicians that, hey, you need to do this and this. But that's not the story. We will tell you a little bit later how this year and a little bit more have gone. So yes, the answer to that question is that it is quite difficult. Before we get there, Martin will tell you a little bit about eel management plan.
Yes, so the EU's eel management plan and other regional plans aim to improve eel populations through measures such as catch limits, protection of habitats, and reduction of migratory obstacles. The main measure of saving the eels population is repopulation. But the survival rate of releasing glass eels into the waters where they would naturally already be yellow eels is low. It's extremely low. According to the fishermen we talked to when preparing for this presentation, they said that the eels that are kept, the glass eels that are kept in aquaculture a few years before releasing into the wild have even lower chances of survival than the glass eels directly released. So the management plans clearly need a critical revision. The population in the Baltic Sea, for example, is still declining. The major factors for that are habitat loss, climate change, and illegal fishing. Overall population of the eel has declined more than 90% in the last 50 years. And today's population in the Baltic waters is only 3% of what it was in the 1970s. The 2020 European Commission report indicated that resettlement efforts, such as introduction of glass eels into various habitats, has not significantly impacted conservation outcomes. This strongly suggests that simply adding eels to depleted areas does not address the underlying issues. The issues brought out include inadequate habitat conditions, persistent threats, and challenges in enforcement. There was also a Swedish Fisheries Secretariat report released this year. This report questions whether the methods accurately measure the success of repopulation efforts and if they properly account for all the relevant factors. The report also highlights the need for a thorough review of management plans to ensure they address the critical factors affecting eel populations, factors such as habitat loss, pollution, and illegal fishing. And here we have the head of the environmental agency in Estonia. He was releasing 300 kilograms of glass eels into a frozen lake, as you can see, sending around 1.5 million eels into certain death. And to compare, the Estonian population is only 1.36 million people, so. So the eels caught in Estonian waters mainly come from inland waters, where they are relocated as glass eels. So about 10 years ago, the practice of releasing eels into the waters after they had been farmed for a few years was discontinued. And this was, as I mentioned before, due to extremely low survival rate. From then on, glass eels are directly released from trucks, and about 1.2 million eels annually into Lake Võrtsjärv, which is the second biggest lake in Estonia. The peak in the Baltic Sea was around in the turn of the century, but has been declining since. And this year, 2024, for the first time, the ban in the Estonian seawaters was all year round for fishing eels. But since the glass eels that were introduced in the Lake Võrtsjärv around 10 years ago have been growing, so has been growing the fishing in the Narva River Basin, and it reached 57 tons in last year, 2023.
Mm-hmm. And so, how is it going then so far? Now a little bit about this politics. About the recommendations for the management of fish in Estonian waters have been saying that the eel population in Estonian coastal seas has been depleted, so we really should not continue our current course. So that's what Martin already said. Now it is said that you shouldn't catch eels in the sea, but you still can do it in a lake, as we just saw. And now, a little bit what is happening in Estonia. The eel is not protected species, although it is the most endangered species who lives in Estonia. At least half of its, not half, part of its life cycle. And that is one reason what politicians say why they can't take the eel under protection, because they don't live there the whole life. So we can't do it. Or at least they are saying it now. The fact that the eel is not protected, it seems that this is one reason why people can't really get the fact that this species is really endangered. Then there are at least 2 eel farms in Estonia. So not only this lake, what is also considered as a farm, amongst the specialists. These farms, they also buy glass eels and then they fatten them. So I just thought today that maybe it should be called fattery, because they really They don't reproduce them there. They just make them bigger, they feed them, and then they sell it. And Estonians don't have money to buy them, so they export it. And then I will also talk about it a little bit later. There is Eel Festival happening tomorrow. They are having smoked eel eating contest there. Yes, and now about a little bit of the year, what we have done, and how this kind of media coverage and everything has been. This photo is from the last year festival, and this guy here you see, this older man, this president of Estonia, he was there on that festival, and then after he visited it, we sent the letter to the president asking that if he and his working space, all these people who, office, if they are aware of the eel and how endangered they are, we got the very vague answer, what just explained us what is written in the laws. We know it ourselves, of course. Then we also had a panel discussion about European eel, and the biggest outcome, I think, what we talked there was exactly what I told before, this fattening thing, that actually we shouldn't call this eel farms as farms, because when we have had talks with politicians, they really get it as a surprise that, oh wow, really, is it all brought in from the nature? It is not so widespread information, it seems. And also in Estonia, there is an investigative TV program called Pealtnägija. A lot of people watch it, and so if the topic is there, then it's somehow, it might become important thing. So they also made a story of about the eel, but it took us 2, 3, I don't know, many months to explain them that this is actually quite important topic to talk about. And based of all above, we proposed that the European eel should be protected. Here you see this green logo. This is only on some slides. It's because these slides are done with them like cooperation. It is the Estonian Fund for Nature, and they're one expert of sustainable fishing. He has been a big support about the eel, working on eel topic. And what we have noticed is that some organizations can't give very strong messages. Maybe they are big organizations, maybe they are different kind of scientists, so the message is kind of softer. So they are speaking about eating fish, but sustainably. But we in Loomus say that you shouldn't eat fish altogether. But about this European eel, we can very well cooperate because it's so endangered that even they say that you shouldn't eat them at all. And here is one book called Eel's Evangelium. I have talked about that book with some of you. It's written by Patrick Svensson. It is translated in Estonian, and that's why the picture is here like that. It is magnificent book, and if you are interested about the topic, then I very much recommend it. There are very interesting facts about the eels, also about this guy who wrote it, and also about this mysteries around the eels and how difficult it has been for people to understand what it is about. This picture, yeah, this one I already told you about. It was about that taking under protection. And the next one was this scandal Martin told you about, how this 1.5 million eels got into the water and many of them died. And somehow this became a scandal. It was kind of a surprise for us that why this, but yeah, there was one politician who shared this story in Facebook, so it really went viral. And so we used that momentum and explained again that the thing is not that you put these eels into cold water, that this is wrong. Of course it's wrong, but it's wrong to do it in the first place. And so there has been at least 3 talks in the parliament about eels and if they should be taken under protection. Ministry said that they will now discuss it. It was already in the winter, and in spring was the deadline that what we got, that they will discuss it and then start to do something. Now it's already autumn and nothing has been done till now. Before every election, Loomus is sending the suggestions to the politicians, and this time was no different. And so one suggestion to politicians was that European eel must be taken under protection. And we also made the survey and asked Estonian people how they feel about endangered species being eaten, or the question is if, in your opinion, eels as endangered species should be forbidden to sell and catch, basically. And so, yes is this right side, and no is upper 2, and here the 30% is like, we don't know. Yeah, and this one is just a picture of this one of media coverage. We have had them quite a lot, and this one was titled with changes against the last change, extinction. So what should we do next?
Yes, that's a good question. What should we do? When I wrote to Heiko in the spring, I was really optimistic about that. By the time we are here on the stage, we would have some concrete results. Unfortunately, it's politics, so we don't have anything. But on this slide behind me, you can see the glass eel recruitment index. This is probably the most important tool for measuring the state of the European eel population trends. It refers to the number of glass eels arriving into the European waters. And as you can see, it's declining. So in 2021, the index was only 5.5% from the baseline in the elsewhere Europe region, and only 0.6% in the Northern Sea region. So to clarify, the baseline is the 100, and it was, I think it was between 1969 and 75 or something, the glass eel population. So the decline has really been like, I have no words. And these numbers clearly indicate that there is a chance we are going to see the extinction of this magnificent creature before we even learn how it lives, before we even learn about its full life cycle. And this is something we don't want to agree with. We don't want to see that. And we believe that if together we manage to ban the fishing of the eel in Europe, we could also significantly reduce the illegal market, which is currently a huge problem. And it's a problem mainly because the fishing is legal at times, and the line between the legal and illegal is really vague. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and before coming here, I made some phone calls with minister office and with some officials to ask how is it going. And no, there is no plan in the ministry, it seems. Although the whole year is gone by, I now have sent some emails, and I will call again when I'm back in Estonia. And so in Estonia, we know what we should do, but we don't know if it will be done, or they are still waiting for EU instructions. But yes, in Estonia it's easy. The repopulation of Võrtsjärv must be stopped. A fair transition plan must be created at the initiative of the Ministry for the Fishermen, and the fattening of the eels in farms must be stopped. I think you see, it says that don't eat the last eel. I think personally that eel is really special, and I hope that now you know a little bit more about them, and maybe can even talk to others about that, so that we wouldn't eat the last eel.
Yes. Let's not do that.
We urge that every organization in the region. Do you want to tell that?
Yeah, I know. So, yeah, let's not eat. We urge every organization in the region to campaign for the total ban of eel fishing, especially activists from Spain, Portugal, France, and UK, to get the governments to ban the fishing of the glass eel and introduce harsh penalties for illegal fishing. So that's our message.
And now, can we watch that video? Okay, so this short video now.
Mina olen Lauri Saks, ma olen kalateadlane, oleme Küdema lahe ääres Saaremaal, kus me teeme kalastikusleirepüüke ja ma räägin teile Euroopa angerist.
Anyways, he said that he's the fisher specialist and he talks a little bit about
Euroopa angerjas on tegelikult olnud Eestis väga tavaline kalaliik ja seejuures ka üks huvitavama rändeökoloogiaga kalaliik.
He says that it's very interesting way to
Sargassomere piirkonnas. Keegi täpselt ei teagi kus.
Yeah, just watch how they look.
Golfihoovusega Euroopa poole triivides. Kui nad jõuavad lõpuks Eesti rannikule ja ujuvad isegi mageveekogudesse, siis siin nad veedavad hoopis oma teisme ja kasvuja ning kui nad on kasvanud siin 5 kuni
Yeah, he explained that in Estonian waters they are as teenagers basically and they grow up there.
Ookeani ja siirduvad oma kude alla.
And then they go to oceans.
Kui angerjas sätib ennast kuderändele, siis ta lõpetab toitumise ära, tarvitab ainult oma
Yes, that's what we didn't explain. When it is he or she is a silver eel, then they don't eat anymore. So the whole time they go, for example, from Estonia, if they can go, then they just swim to the Sargasso. And then they are the most fattened, so people really want to catch them because they then are delicacy. And that's how they are caught, yeah.
Võrdlemisi tavaline liik on muutunud erakordselt haruldaseks ja maailma looduskaitseorganisatsiooni hinnangu kohaselt on ta kriitiliselt ohustatud loomaliik. Niisuguseid sarnaseid loomaliike elab Eestis veel üks, see on Euroopa naarits.
Thank you, we can now stop that. And ask about questions if you have.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I already see a question.
Thank you. That was really good. I've got one question it's got like a UK example. So in the UK, when the eels come up the rivers and because of the human buildings and kind of structures, they'd made like eel ramps for the eels to get up the riverbeds. But then they realized that the eels were still dying and it ended up being the sewage. So do you think, because in the UK, the rivers are like filled with shit and our water companies are rubbish, do you think if we just stopped fishing and like killing the eels and catching them for fish, that would be enough? Or do you think the Baltic Sea has a pollution problem that would then be the next thing that would kill them?
Yes, the pollution, the climate change, and also this what you said about those dams, because we have that also, but it's on Russian side, so we can't do really anything. It just stops them to go.
Okay, is there another question?
Hello, yeah, thank you. Thank you for all the work you're doing and for this interesting presentation. I'm from the Netherlands. I don't know if you know the situation. We have a kind of ban on eel fishing, so it's very limited and it can only be done in certain months of the year. But I know that we have very large, also eel what's it called, like land aquaculture systems. You said you have 2 breeding facilities in, but are you also, ideally, this would also be banned, or is this separate from the wild eel fishing?
This would also be banned because these glass eels come all from the same source. So yes, the eels should be left alone altogether.
If I can add to that, because as I said, the artificial life cycle completion is still to this day, like they haven't resolved it. They haven't been able to complete the life cycle, and as I said, the silver eel will die after spawning. So the species that die after spawning only once are already like critically we should protect them. But if we catch glass eels, raise them in aquaculture, either way it's not gonna be like enough to save the species to just ban the like glass eel fishing for the consumption, but also we have to ban it for fishing for aquaculture.
And also the 50 to 60%. There are not so many so much information, but they are saying that 50 to 60% of glass eels are dying during the process when they are catching them and bringing them somewhere. And anyways, yes, as you said, they are out of that all population. This European eel is considered as one population. So whenever you take glass eels out of it, you actually make this population smaller and smaller.
Okay, is there another question? Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for everything that you're doing to try to protect them. If I heard correctly, there is some sort of festival tomorrow happening. I was just curious if there's any type of direct action group in Estonia that are prepared to go there and maybe try and sabotage the consumption of these, or even just have just something to try and get this in the press. And I do think that would then hopefully trigger bordering countries, and hopefully we could all do some sort of national direct action together. And just curious if that's a thing, if that's been on the table or not.
I had this conversation with someone here in cafeteria before. So we haven't thought about it till now because it seemed that it should be much easier thing to work on. But because it seems it's not, then it is now on the table, yes. Because what we see is that people really, till now, as you saw, 30% they don't have an opinion. And this species is critically endangered. It's like one step away from dying out. And they don't have opinion about it. It's insane.
Okay, so we have time for one last quick question. I think your hand was up a little faster. Okay.
Yeah, I was just curious as to what kind of role they play in the ecosystem. Like, I know we should care about them as individuals anyway, but just wondering if they did go extinct, hopefully they don't, but if that was to happen, would that then have an impact on the ecosystems? Kind of what other role do they play? I was just curious if it would then have impact on other species and it would kind of snowball from there.
Definitely. Every species that goes extinct has an impact. For eel, it's mostly because they are nocturnal and mostly feed on insects and small fish. They have a role in keeping the population control for some species. And also we don't know, because we know so little about the eel. We don't know the bigger impact. But definitely, yeah. And what I didn't mention before is for the eel and for other species, the slowing down of the Gulf Stream is extremely has a extremely huge impact. So there we don't know what's coming if this.
Yeah, as I'm not positive in that sense at all, because I think everything what happens in the seas is so bad. So I don't know, they are all dying somehow. Thank you.
All
I
right,
think
thank you
it's
so
over
much
now.
for your presentation.